Hey, Wisdom Seeker, and welcome back to another episode of Gathering Wisdom. Boy, it's been a crazy month. January felt like it was never going to end. The constant news cycle, the change in leadership. We had the fires in LA. I sat down to record in early January and then the fires erupted. And I thought to myself, I just can't right now. I mean, we all have those days. I'm just popping on here because I shared something in my Instagram stories the other day that really had a positive impact on a lot of people. And I think it might help you too. I'm calling this series Tools for Transformation. And today I want to talk to you about something I picked up and put in my tool belt a couple of years ago called positive intelligence. And here's where this is coming from. I was on my phone the other day and I admit I was doom scrolling. But what I do with doom scrolling is I only give myself 5 minutes. I've got an iPhone and I set my social media timers to about 5 minutes. If you don't know how to do that, you just go into your settings and you can set a time limit for pretty much any app that you have on your phone. It's very annoying, but it does help curb how much time you're spending on your phone, which is something that I'm very conscious of now that I'm a mother, because I can see at only 8 months old, my son is already trying to reach for screens. And there's a couple of different philosophies on that. I don't want to get too far into the weeds with it, but I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday and she was like, well, I grew up with TV and I turned out to be perfectly fine. And the difference is now we have screens everywhere, when before we just had the TV screen. And the screen was, you couldn't move your big TV and take it everywhere with you. So that's the difference. And that's why I really encourage you to just play with that setting on your phone, because these people who've developed the technology, they know it's addicting. They know it's bad for us. It's by design. And that same goes true for social media. Tons of conversations in the media today about social media. Schools across the country are trying to ban cell phone use. We're talking about now these oligarchs, the billionaires, having control of all of our data. We were afraid of China having control of our data, so they banned TikTok. And I'm just saying that to give context to the type of doom scrolling that I'm doing. But I sat there for 5 minutes and this feeling of intense anxiety started to bubble up in my chest. I got this, chest tightness. And I thought, okay, it's happening. It's time to stop. It's time to put the phone down and just do a little bit of a reset. And at least I'm at a point where I can acknowledge that's happening. But I know that there are empathic people or people who don't necessarily have the tools yet, primarily our kids, to have the wherewithal to stop. And if you're one of those people, this is a tool that I have for you today. I want you to, when you start to have that feeling, I need you to put the phone down and I need you to close your eyes. And I want you to take the tips of your fingers and I want you to rub them together oh so slightly, ever so slightly, so lightly, to the point where you can feel the ridges of your fingerprints. And I just want you to focus on that. Take a few breaths. And I know it's hard to determine what 2 minutes is when you don't have a timer in front of you, you don't have your phone, but you can even set a phone on your timer just to 2 minutes. And I just want you to focus on just trying to intentionally feel the ridges of your fingerprints running across each other and see how that makes you feel. So that, my friend, is a tool you can use at any point when you have that feeling of anxiety, or maybe you read something that really pissed you off, or you just walked away from a situation where things got really heated. Maybe you felt afraid, or maybe you had an embarrassing situation happen. Whatever it is, that's what's encompassed in this modality called positive intelligence. So a couple of years ago, I was in the middle of a career change and I sought out a career coach to help me with this transition. I thought I just came out of a 9 to 5. I was rebuilding a new career in the wine industry and it didn't work out for a variety of reasons. It was not meant to, but I was burnt out And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I brought everything to that opportunity. Why didn't it work out? And I really struggled when I started working with this coach. She was going to help me clean up my resume, and she's like, what kind of work do you want?" And in my head, I thought to myself, you should be looking for a 9 to 5. You should be looking for something that's going to help you increase your salary, because these are your highest earning years. You know, your 30s. This is the time where you need to make the most money to stash it away. And I had all these should. This is what I should be working for. And I think she really saw that in me. So before we even started working together on the career stuff, she plopped me in this 6-week program for positive intelligence. Now, positive intelligence is a program designed by Shirzad Shamin, and he has a wildly, massively successful TED Talk called Taming Your Inner Saboteurs. And I think he went through the same thing. He was a very high achieving individual who would fly off the handle anytime he bumped up against something that ruffled his feathers. And he destroyed a lot of relationships in the process. And he ended up having to do a massive reset on his life. And through going through neuropsychology, we now understand that the brain is neuroplastics, meaning we can design new connections so that instead of immediately flying off the handle, you have the ability to take in information and pause and then respond appropriately. So he wrote a book, Positive Intelligence: Why Only 20% of Teams and Individuals Achieve Their True Potential and How You Can Achieve Yours. It's a wonderful book. It's a pretty quick read, and there's a lot of good nuggets in there. It's actually, you should go out and buy the hard copy so you can have it on your bookshelf and refer to it every couple of years, because it's a good reminder. Now, the program he developed is really not anything new. It has these elements of mindfulness practices that are found pretty much everywhere nowadays, and a lot of it goes back to ancient wisdom. But if you are someone who is new to, developing your higher consciousness, or you're just a really high achieving individual, it can be difficult to approach spirituality. It might not be, if you're very, left brain, it might be hard to approach some of the softer, more spiritual mindfulness practices. And I think he does a really good job of just delivering a tool that people can execute on to start transforming and rewiring their brain right away. A short summary of the book is that Shirzad identified that everyone has these inner saboteurs. So there's the critic, there's the judge, there's these different facets and these different voices that live inside of our head. And what he purports is that we all also have an inner sage. The inner sage is the state that you want to be in most of the time. It's impossible to get rid of your saboteurs. They live with you like a passenger in the back seat, but you don't want to make them the driver. And I think that was the point I was trying to drive home to, in my Instagram story, was that I see a lot of people in my life right now reacting to the news, and the reaction is normal. However, what's not normal is living in the state that the reaction incites. It's not normal to live in that state all the time. So whether it's anxiety, fear, anger, agitation, pissiness, you don't want to live in that state for more than just a couple of minutes a day. And you really want to have command. So that's what Shirzad preaches, is that you have command over your saboteurs, and you essentially engaging in practices so that you can help elicit more of a sage response rather than a saboteur response. And I think that's what's really powerful about the practice. He does have an app. It's quite spendy. And although I am all in support of people investing in themselves and their tools, I do want to offer you just a quick 2-minute practice that you don't have to buy his book. You don't have to read the book. You don't have to invest in the app. You don't have to invest in a coach or training. This practice is absolutely free. And what I want you to do is make a shortcut on your phone to set a 2-minute timer. And I want that timer to be visible and present on your home screen so that you can reach for it quickly. Now, when you start to have these feelings of agitation, anxiety, fear, sadness, feel the reaction and then press that timer on your phone. And then you're going to do one of two things. Pick the thing that works for you. You can take your shoes off and make contact with the ground and intentionally for 2 minutes feel all of your toes on the ground. Spread your toes out, make full contact, feel where the ground presses up into the sole of your feet. You can gaze at something, fixate on an object, and just practice focusing and unfocusing on that object for 2 minutes. You can close your eyes and you can focus on your breath to the point where you can feel your heartbeat, or you can simply take your fingertips and rub them against each other until you can feel the ridges of your fingertips and just focus on that intentionally for 2 minutes. The 2 minutes is important because it's scientifically backed that that's what it's going to take to help calm down that other response and introduce a new neural pathway towards calm. And you'll notice that when you come out of the 2 minutes after you've been doing it for a while, that you just have a different perspective. Maybe you don't have that voice screaming at you, that inner critic, that judge. Maybe you feel more in control or even empowered by the news. Bringing it home, I think my coach put me through this training because she really wanted me to be able to sort out my saboteurs to figure out what I actually wanted. The long and short of it was I ended up firing her because I didn't want a new career. I wanted to continue down the entrepreneurial path. And that mindfulness technique is eventually what led me to explore different types of meditation and different types of mindfulness that eventually led me to being a mother, which is my current purpose and role right now. It's a very simple technique that you can try because at the end of the day, living in that state, all it does is generate more fear and anxiety. I've reconnected my soul to my body and my purpose and who I am and what I'm doing here. You start to realize that your attitude and having command over your emotions and making the decision to not live in these states or to not listen to these saboteurs or to cope with your saboteurs and move past them into a sage state is really what this time is about anyway. This turbulent stuff is being thrown at us for a reason. It's all happening for a reason. I have to believe that. My higher self tells me that on a daily basis. And what our higher selves want us to do is rise to the occasion. Because if you meet fear with fear, anxiety and with anxiety, that's all you're going to continue to generate in your life experience. The important thing is to recognize what's happening and then step up a level in your vibration or your frequency and respond differently. And that's what I think Shirzad can really show us is how can we feel the full feelings of what's happening in the world right now and then move past it and meet it with love. Now, this is not something that you have to pay for, but this is something that you have to practice. The good news is that you can practice this anytime and anywhere. Shirzad Shamin, he has a book, a TED Talk, and the Positive Intelligence or the PQ app available for download if you feel like you need some extra accountability or assistance in that area. And if you're interested in identifying those inner saboteurs, there's a free assessment on his website that you can go ahead and check out. It is helpful to start to put names to those voices in your head. And for me, it's been an interesting journey reflecting back on my inner saboteurs and how I've been dealing with them over the past 3 years. If you found this episode helpful, chances are there's someone else in your life that will derive some value from it as well. So I appreciate the share. And until next time, wisdom seekers, stay curious.